Okay, well, to try and wrap everything up we've heard today, I'd like to thank the conference, first of all, for allowing me to speak. I'd like to try to get a little bit more into what we can do with all this data that everybody's been talking about for the last day and a half. You know, we've heard lots about big data, the collection, how we need to share it, what we need to do with it, but really haven't dove into what the potential really is, where to start, what to do with it, the results we can come up with, and you know, to really find out the value it can create for you guys as the farmer. So, we've all seen this before, or at least I hope you have. The goal is to try to find the limiting factor on every acre that you guys produce, whether it's a nutrient, or a soil structure thing, or an operation that was done wrong or done right. You know, what is going on those farms, and how can we use this data that we're collecting to do a better job of managing all of it and increasing profitability per acre. So we like to try to do it two of different ways. Use the technology we have to start simply. If you're just trying to get your feet wet, you know, you don't really know what to do with that data, but you've begun collecting, your planner's creating some stuff, your combine's measuring meal, just try to measure some product performance to see what's working on farm. All the stuff we've heard today. Leave a check strip in the field. Use your yield data to identify whether that new tool is working for you. Is that precision planning script doing what they say it's doing? Is that herbicide that they're telling you is the next best thing doing what they're telling you it will do? Validate it yourself. You now have the tools to do that. Allow your agronomist to help you do that and create the results that you want. So here's some NDVI shots. This is a variety side by side. It is variety A versus variety B. The white strip is the test. That's the new variety put on farm that we want to see. Is it going to out yield what I'm currently doing? So we took some NDVI shots throughout the year, and you can begin to see the patterns in that strip, especially the one in the top right corner. It is darker green. It starts out a little bit better. August 11th, it's really good, and even August 30th, it's still a little bit better. When we take it to yield at the end of the year, you can see that there was a 5 bushel advantage to that variety on that season. When we work it out, it winds up being $51 profitability for that customer with that different variety. That's a win. You know, we need to start looking at that variety more on that customer's farm, start applying it on more acres to increase the profitability of that farm's operation. Same thing with the fungicide. He was not a believer. We treated the red section, 20 acres or so. The rest of the field was left untreated. The yield map on the bottom, there's an instant, you can see it right away. Work it all out, there was a 20 bushel, well, not quite, 15 bushel advantage in this field. Work it all out, it's $40 profit for that farmer. That fungicide treatment made the customer $40. You know, he now believes he wants to try it on more acres next year and maybe leave a check strip not applied instead of a check strip that is applied to see if it, to continue to see if it's still working. A manure application, this one's kind of neat. The strip on the red, you can see the headlands are completely annihilated. This person side dresses manure at about knee-high corn. Son came up to the house and said, "Dad, I gotta quit. The drawbar's knocking corn down, I'm butchering the headlands, there's nothing left." The decision that day was, yes, stop, it's wrecking the field. Wrong decision. There was a 10 bushel advantage on that field, even with the headlands destroyed by side dressing, giving him that extra nitrogen to carry through the year. Something that the decision we thought we made at the time was right, but again, the rest of those acres on that field could have had a 10 bushel advantage if he would have continued across the farm. So again, how do we take this to the next level if we want to? How do we start identifying those production zones? How do we really start to dive into areas of the field that are working, areas of the field that aren't? Here's one farm. We've got corn 2007, soybeans 2008, wheat 2009, and then a chlorophyll imagery taken in 2011. You begin to see that the zones are the zones. They're always the same. They don't often change. Some fields do, but in this case, it's consistent. They're always, nothing ever changes. So we need to start farming that farm according to those zones, applying nutrients, seed, everything differently to increase profitability. Come on. So what we want to do when we create these zones is to to identify the production zones that best match what you know as the producer to be how that farm responds. So you can see here, if we do a 2.5 acre grid, the results aren't necessarily how the soil rolls across the farm. If we zone sample it, we might get a better result. This shows the kind of map book you get back. The top is a computer process map book. The bottom is an intensive zone. And you can see the CEC map better matches the bare ground imagery, so you're getting the zones more specific to what you believe the operation to be right. So from this step forward, whatever controller you use to apply any other nutrient or seed or anything across that farm, if it doesn't match what you know as the operator, as the owner or the producer to what to believe to be true on that farm, you're never going to be happy with the product you're applying or the operation that you do, because it does not match the ground. It does not match what you know is accurate on the farm. Our goal is to create management zones that match the farm and match what you know to be accurate. So then we begin putting all these things together. We use bare ground imagery to help detect some soil features. We start sampling based on zones to help identify production issues and see if it's a fertility issue or not. We then use yield data to really begin to customize those zones and to begin to validate profit. And then we create management zone-based solutions that are field-specific and specific to your goals as a customer. Really get into the nitty-gritty of what's working and what isn't, and ultimately to try to begin producing profitability maps. So when we do that, we can compare soil test information back to yield. This, for a quick example, you can see calcium is decreasing. So base saturation-wise, if calcium's going down, magnesium or potash has to be going up. Potash in this farm is not bad, it's at a good level, it's staying consistent, so it has to be magnesium, and you can see, yes, magnesium is rising. So on this farm, put some magnesium on, lower the calcium down, your yield's gonna go up in the respective zones. Variable rate planting prescriptions, planter scripts, however you want to call it. Normalize some yield, 2, 3, 4 years worth of data, the more the better. Use your soil test information, create those zones on the farm, then create some scripts and leave a check strip in the middle to make sure you're doing the right thing. So on this farm, we put 28,000 on the least productive areas, all the way up to 34,000 in the most productive areas, and we made the customer more profit. Any type of equipment, any type of planter, any type of data, it's easy, it works. You talk to your seed companies, get some more information on where to place those varieties, and it's things we can do. Then we begin looking at more advanced placement of inputs, to create higher profitability. Begin the variable rate, every nutrient on the farm, to fertilize accordingly based on yield, based on those zones, based on what we're seeing. Put the right amount of product in the right place. If you believe in an equations-based approach, that's fine, you can do that. If you don't believe in the equations yet or don't think there's something right and you want to take a more standard approach on some more proven agronomy that works in Ontario, we can do that. We can use your average yield in that spot, we can put an actual rate, define it, and go in and spread what we know is going to work and not leave it up to an equation. It's the long way around, but it can still be done if necessary. So when we get all that, and we start getting into zones, now we begin to see the yield by management zone. We can print reports by this to tell you what each section in that field is yielding. Then we can then put each input or application across the field into that and begin to give you profitability per acre. So we use all those different layers, corn yield, soybean yield, your soil test levels, your bare ground imagery, and then we get into your variable rate seeding, your variable rate nitrogen, all your variable rate fertilizer, based on those production zones, and we start to create these profitability maps. Now, these maps were done in Apex with the customers that were using it today. We are working towards this goal as ourselves, but this is where we all need to try and get, I believe, and this is the overall outcome of the farm. So the map on the left shows the gross income. So this farm is producing $530 per acre in the red areas, all the way up to $1,200 per acre in the blue areas. That's neat. But when you start taking all your profit or your expenses off of it, that's where the profitability comes in. And that is the kick in the pants. Because those red areas, you're losing, this farmer lost $350 an acre in those spots. It flooded, it drowned out. They're usually his best areas. But he lost $350 an acre, which pulled directly off the areas which you made money. So if we can better manage those areas, that's how we're going to increase profitability per acre, and that's how this data can pay. So as you can see here, because we are variable rating fertilizer, his red areas on the profitability map are smaller and his green areas are bigger. So he's reducing the inputs in the right areas and he's increasing inputs in the right areas to, one, reduce cost where he's been losing money historically, and two, increase bushels where he thinks he can push more. So if we get more bushels on the farm and we decrease our inputs or keep our inputs the same, then overall profitability's up and it's a win. And that's what we want to try to do for our customers, and that's what you guys need to try to do with your data. Get to this level of farming. You have to start slow, understand it, see how it works, but build yourself up to this type of approach, and that's when you can set yourself apart. So basically, use your farm's data to help you put the pieces of the puzzle together, and it will lead to the goal of your operation. So all the layers will help you get more profit. Thank you.